Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Adult Forum. It's great to see you all. My name is Melcher Davis. I'm the Choirmaster and Organist at Grace and Holy Trinity, and this is Stan Baker, our wonderful assistant Choirmaster and Organist. We are going to be discussing the sounds of the pipe organ this morning, and we'll be talking about the history and development of the organ and demonstrating stops and then playing some pieces so you can hear those stops. And hopefully you have found a packet, and this contains our presentation as well as a history of the organ and as well as a list of stops. So feel free to take this with you, and I hope it gives you even more information about the organ. So I'm going to begin on page 1 talking about the history of the organ. The pipe organ is a musical instrument that produces sound when pressurized air or wind is driven through a series of pipes. The origins trace back to ancient Greece in the 3rd century BC, and it's one of the oldest instruments still used in European classical music. The word organ is derived from the Latin organum, which was an instrument similar to a portative organ used in ancient Roman circus games. The earliest organ was the hydraulis, which delivered a wind supply maintained through water pressure to a set of pipes. The hydraulis was played in arenas of the Roman Empire. The pumps and water regulators of the hydraulis were replaced by inflated leather bags in the 2nd century AD, and then true bellows appeared in the 6th or 7th century AD. Portable organs were invented in the Middle Ages, and portability made it useful for the accompaniment of sacred and secular music in different settings. The first permanent organ installation was in 1361 in Halberstadt, Germany. Most organs had no stop controls until the mid-15th century. Around 1450, controls were designed that allowed ranks or sets of pipes to be played individually. Starting in the Renaissance and Baroque periods, the tonal colors were more varied. Stops imitated various instruments such as the crumhorn and gamba. And the Baroque period was organ building's golden age. Instruments displayed beautiful craftsmanship and sound. Some of the Baroque organ builders were Arpschnicker, Jasper Johansson, and Gottfried Silbermann. At this time, all organs had well-balanced mechanical or tracker key action. This means the keys and the wind chest are physically connected through a series of rods called trackers. When the organist depresses a key, the corresponding tracker moves, allowing the wind to enter the pipe. Consoles of mechanical or tracker action organs cannot be moved because it would result in breaking the trackers. So some tracker organs are at St. James and St. Paul's in town. So I'm sure you've heard tracker organs around the area. The Romantic period, organs became more symphonic, capable of creating gradual crescendos. New technologies in the work of organ builders such as Cavalier-Cole and Henry Willis made it possible to build larger organs with more stops, more variation in sound, and more divisions. Enclosed divisions became common at this time, and organs had a warmer, richer sound than was most common in the 18th century. Organs also began to be built in concert halls, and composers such as Saint-Saëns and Mahler used the organ in orchestral works. The modern development of the organ included the development of electric pneumatic action, which made it possible to locate the console independently of the pipes, which expanded the possibilities in tonal design. The electric current operates the action indirectly through air pressure valves. Since only electrical wiring is necessary to connect the console to the wind chest, electric actions allow the console to be separated from the rest of the organ, like we can separate our organ as well from the pipes. Movable organ consoles are very popular and a standard part of organ design. They are useful for organ concerts and other special programs featuring the organ. They help the organ be more accessible and the music more meaningful for the audience. And the organ also becomes visible, like other instruments and singers. And our organ console was made movable in 2008 by a generous gift from Graham Rawlings in memory of his wife, Frida. And some of you may have been to organ concerts where you've seen the organ in the middle of the chancel, which we do for organ concerts so you can see the organ better. The existing console was placed on a dolly with modifications to the electrical and computer systems. So that's a bit about the history and development. And now Stan is going to show you some of the stops.
We generally consider organ pipes to be 4 families of sound. The main sound, the backbone sound of the organ, is principals. Curiously enough, that's an appropriate term. But the principals are the sound that is not imitative of an orchestral instrument. The pipes, many of which you can see here, are kind of long and relatively narrow. There's a ratio that I don't know off the top of my head, but there's a ratio of the pipe length to diameter, which makes it a principal. And of course, the voicer, the person who actually adjusts the mouth of the tone, knows how to set that properly also. I might just tell you at this point in time that in England, a pipe organ is affectionately known as a box of whistles, which is exactly what it is. All of the pipes are constructed exactly like a whistle. You've probably seen a slide whistle in the orchestra, like that. It has a little whistle mouth. Well, if you look carefully at the bottom of the pipes, you see a little slot, and that's exactly what it is. It's a whistle. So it's driven by air, and like a flautist in the orchestra would play, they blow the air over a hole, which sets that air column in motion. So it's exactly the same thing in a pipe organ. Three of the families of pipes operate on that principle. The fourth one, which Beth is going to demonstrate later, are what we call, and as a group, the reeds. And the reason for that is the inside the pipe at the bottom, the narrow end, really has a little reed in it, a metal reed, like a clarinet. Anybody ever played the clarinet? Yeah, that's how it's constructed. But I'll let Beth tell you more about that. I mentioned the principles. Those are the average girth of a pipe. Now, I'm going to play two of the other classes of types of pipes, the flutes, which are larger in girth, and they result in a rounder sound, we say fluty, or like the Cowardly Lion, in Wizard of Oz. The other class of pipes that I'm going to demonstrate are called strings, and they are much narrower. And originally, they were created to somewhat imitate orchestral strings, like violins, And the particular type of piece that I'm going to demonstrate has a pipe that is intentionally tuned, it's intentionally out of tune, so that you get this undulation in the sound. And I'll demonstrate that right before I play it. But for now, if you'd like to look on page, check out page 7, first of all. Our organ has 4 keyboards for the hands and 1 for the feet. The keyboard for the hands, those all have 61 keys, right? Each keyboard for the hands has 61 keys, the black and white keys. For the feet, you have 32 keys, and they correspond exactly to the black and white notes on the regular keyboard, for the ones for the feet. But if you look on page 7, the register column says great. That is the second keyboard from the bottom on the organ. Look on the next page, swell. That's the third keyboard from the bottom, and those of you sitting over here can actually see the swell box illuminated. And you see that it has louvers. They're like vertical louvers. They're like Venetian blinds, but they're mounted vertically. And I will operate those in a minute, and you'll see them happening particularly well since the lights turned on in there. Also on page 8, you see positive. That's the bottom keyboard, the one all the way at the bottom. And then if you turn over to page 9, you see antiphonal, which, like the name says, it's in the back. It's that old chamber just above the main entrance door. And those are some of the oldest pipes in the organ that were preserved from Hooke and Hastings. Yep. If you turn back to page 7, look under great at number 3, the bourdon, French word, of course, not too greatly different from bourbon. You'll remember that. All right. 8 foot designates normal pitch. And I think there's a section of your booklet that talks about that. The lowest pipe on the 61 notes is about 8 feet long. And that's, you can kind of see demonstrations up there. Now, if you'll look also on the next page under swell stops, it's actually the one just below number 11, Rohrgedeckt. These are German terms. Gedeckt means covered, and Rohr means reed, I believe, doesn't it, Beth? Yeah. But it has a little bit of a reedy sound, but it is a covered pipe. On Positiv, number 25, down there near the bottom of the page, you have Holzgedeckt. That means wood covered. The pipe is made out of wood. And then on the next page, you have plain gedeckt, number 33 in the antiphonal. Now, I'm going to use all 4 of those independently, and then I'm going to put them all together in the piece that I'm about to play, which actually was not for flutes, but it was for an unusual instrument called the glass harmonica. What page is that? Somebody help me out here. Page 5. The glass harmonica, has anyone ever made a wine glass sing with your finger going around the rim? That's the principle. It was a set of glass bowls that were in different sizes, and they were on a spindle, and the bottom of them was dipped in water, maybe in wine, who knows. But there was a crank on the end, and the player would actually touch the edges of the bowls with their finger. You can probably find pictures of this online pretty easily. But, all right, here's the Mozart piece for glass harmonica played on flutes. And I'll tell you where I'm playing. Yes, ma'am.
What does the word stop mean in the context?
Originally, when pipe organs were first built, you couldn't stop the sound. So all of the registers, all of the different registers of the pipe of the organ would sound whatever when you played the key. Well, then, us cranky organists decided that was not really the best way to go. So we asked the builder to be able to stop some of the sounds. So actually, over time, it became used in reverse. So now, when we want to play with all the stops out, play all the stops, we pull everything out instead of pushing them in. I've just closed the swell box about halfway, which will make the stops in there quieter. Let me play just a chord and you'll hear that. Here's open. So that's one of the ways organists can control the dynamics. The other is to add and subtract stops. All right, here's the Mozart. Starting on the great keyboard. Now the positive. Now the swell. Now the antiphonal. Now you guess. Now all four together. So the next class of stops that I'm going to demonstrate are the strings. And as I mentioned, these pipes are a little bit narrower than principals. So think skinny, and some of them are rather skinny. Let me demonstrate one here. This is in the swell. It's called viola pomposa, and sounds like this. Now, when you add a pipe to it, the viola celeste, in other words, the celestial viola, this is the one that is intentionally tuned a little bit sharp to the normal pipe, and sounds like this. Here it is alone, and here is the other pipe that's out of tune. It gives it that shimmering kind of undulation. And I'm going to use those pipes to accompany a piece by a Canadian, Healy Willan. This was the very first piece that I played the first Sunday in June when I began here at Grace and Holy Trinity. It was Trinity Sunday, so we used the tune Holy, Holy, Holy as the processional hymn.
Trumpet minuet, I'll play the last couple pages, just so you can get a sense of hear the reeds. And I'll be demonstrating the back trumpet on chamade, which are the horizontal pipes you see that were a lovely gift from Bill and Grace brought us that glorify our worship almost every week. We play them we use them as much as we can. They're a blessing. Probably one of the best ones I've ever heard, actually. And our organ tuner says the same thing. He really says they're lovely. And then a solo bombard, they're softer trumpets up front. And then a festival trumpet, which are the bigger trumpets up front. So you'll hear all three. At first, you're only going to hear the back trumpet, and then at the end, you'll hear it get louder, and that's when I'm putting in the front trumpets. And the last piece I will play is Sine Nomine, and actually you're going to hear it again on All Saints Sunday, so you're going to get a little sneak peek. It's by one of my former organ professors from Curtis Institute of Music and Juilliard, Dr. John Weaver, and the piece demonstrates flutes, strings, principals, and reeds. And you'll hear three saints themes, the one you know from the hymnal for all the saints, and then the one you may not know from the 1940 hymnal, the Sarum tune, and then the popular Dixieland jazz tune, When the Saints Go Marching In. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope you've enjoyed our beautiful Austin organ. Thank you.